What if I told you that there are epic food stories that often go untold? Join your host, Seth, as he dives into the thrilling world of food challenges and competitive eating, interviewing those who not only take them on, but create them. Buckle up for the heart pounding moments, behind the scenes experiences, and the passion fueling it all. This is Food Challenge News.
Welcome back to the Food Challenge News Podcast. I'm your host, Seth, and today we are joined by Nathan Klein, a competitive eater from Michigan who became one of only 4 people to achieve a unique Food Challenge victory in all 50 states in 2024. We'll get into that incredible feat later on in the show. Let's dig in. How are you doing today, Nathan?
Hey, doing great. Thanks for asking. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing great. So, what's been going on in Nathan's world recently? Anything exciting you'd like to share with us?
Nothing too exciting. Just living the family life. I just finished coaching my kids' sporting events for the summer. Kind of an annual tradition, my 9th year doing it. And along the way, have done a handful of food challenges in the Michigan area.
So, is there a favorite food of yours growing up that you looked forward to? Like for me, it was always mac and cheese. So, I'm curious to hear what yours was.
I have some long-standing memories of McDonald's French fries. So my mom would work the night shift and would occasionally bring me some home, and I vaguely remember just loving that when that happened, almost becoming addicted to them at a young age.
Yeah, they are really tasty. Before all your challenges, what's your earliest memory of food that stands out to you? Is it those French fries?
No, not actually. Growing up, every Sunday, I would go to my grandparents' house and see my aunts and uncles and cousins and grandparents, and they would always have a feature food each week, and everyone would bring it kind of like a potluck, and there would be like a rotating basis. That's my earliest memory of enjoying food and sharing it with people that I love.
Later on in life, you start taking on food challenges. So, how did that journey begin for you, and what made you say, I want to do this?
Yeah, it's interesting. I've thought about this a lot. And at a young age, I started playing video games and really, really got into them. I still do to this day. I don't spend as much time with them as I used to, but I recall being called to dinner and just wanting to play my games. So I would go downstairs, eat as quickly as I could, and get back into the room to start playing more. I think that's where some of the speed came into play. As far as eating a lot, I've just had that ability, it seems like, for most of my life. I remember when I started dating my wife at the time, her younger brother, who I ended up doing a food challenge with, we had a contest one time at pizza buffet, see how many plates we could all eat. And that stands out as kind of seeing more of the ability to eat a lot. I saw the show Man versus Food. I wasn't like a religious watcher of it or anything, but I was always intrigued by it. And I recall a local pizza place where I lived at the time. This was probably back in 2011, 2012, saying they wanted to offer a giant 2-person pizza. And I can remember following them on Facebook and being really interested in it. They never ended up doing it and never ended up trying it. But where I live, there's a Fox's Pizza Den, which is a chain that's across many different states, but they decided to offer a 2-person team pizza challenge. Back in 2018, I made my very first food challenge attempt with my brother-in-law, who I did that buffet challenge with, I guess you could say. And we failed. We were 4 pieces short of the 52-piece pizza. And I didn't really think I would ever attempt it again. I did it the day before my birthday, actually. So I can remember not really enjoying my birthday the next day. But it then ended up coming down to, I went on a diet. I started getting into intermittent fasting. And this is a pretty common thing that I've seen amongst competitive eaters. You reduce your amount of meals, but you eat a larger meal and then just fast. I started doing that. And then my wife found a donut eating contest that was local to my area and said that I should enter that I'd be good at that. So I got the last spot. I went and did it. This was in 2019, and I got second place. And I was really bummed because I didn't eat quick enough. I slowed down. I thought I was going to win. The time ran out, and somebody chipmunked and ate the donuts that they needed to win. So I got disappointed. Figured I'm not cut out for this. So I lost my first challenge and my first contest. Well, then I saw that a pub a mile or two within my house had a burger challenge that was being offered, and I decided on my lunch break one day I was going to go try it. So I went there, and Melissa, my daughter, met with me, and I finished the burger in record time. It was like 28 minutes for like a 3-pound burger and fries, which looking back on it's not that great of a time, but I set the record and I shared it on my page and everybody thought it was funny. So I started each weekend continuing to do one and kept winning and had fun with it. I enjoyed it. And the rest was kind of history at that point. I just started continuing to do them, continuing to win, and having a lot of fun with it, to be honest with you.
How was it to get the victory over the burger after coming so close the other 2 times with the first challenge and then the contest? How did it feel to get that victory?
It was really satisfying. And the fact that I set the record, at 28 minutes, I thought I was, the hottest talk in town. And then the restaurant shared it on their Facebook page, and I shared it to mine, and everyone was laughing, thinking it was funny. And they're like, wow, that's amazing. You're great. And yeah, it was a good feeling.
So let's fast forward to some of your food challenge adventures, which we've already talked a little bit about. Your first YouTube video was uploaded in November of 2019, and it featured the Don't Even Think About a Burrito Challenge, which is quite the name, but you thought about it. So what led you to think about doing that challenge?
Yeah, that's a good one that you picked. And that was like, I want to say like the 7th or 8th food challenge that I won. But when I first started doing these, it was basically just my family and I going each weekend, each Saturday to the restaurant. They would order something, I would order the challenge, and then I'd put headphones on and wouldn't know what's going on. And Melissa, my wife, would live stream it on her Facebook page so a lot of the neighbors and friends could watch, and they'd comment and make jokes and everything, and then I'd read the comments later and laugh. But that one particularly, it was close to my area that I live in, and I wanted to try it because I was trying to, do as many as I could within my area. And I had quite a lot to try. And with this one, there's what's really funny about this one, I'm glad you picked it. This was the first and only challenge that my mom's ever watched live. And after she watched it, she met up with us there. She goes, I think that's probably the last one that I'm ever going to watch. So I thought that was kind of funny.
Oh, wow. So she hasn't seen any since?
Nope, I don't think she watches the YouTube channel. I know she will like the things that I post on social media, so she continues to follow and she asks when I see her in person, but she has not been to another one since.
So there are multiple strategies when it comes to food challenges. Are there any techniques or approaches that took time to develop in order to really dominate them?
Yeah, good question. Like many others, I found food challenge advice through Randy Santel's foodchallenges.com website and all of the different videos that he made years and years ago of how to win a challenge. So I watched every single one of those and went in with the mindset that he set forth with, a burger challenge and starting with the meat because it's warm and then working to the end and finishing the fries. Lately, in the last couple of years, I would say that to me, I have kind of my own strategy. I still follow those to an extent. I look at it more as what is the thing that I want to eat cold the least. So if I'm feeling like, I really want fries today, I'm going to eat the fries first. Maybe I'll save the meat for later. Really, the foundation was that, but now it's more understanding and knowing what my capacity and capabilities are going into a challenge and knowing that I can beat it with my current capabilities.
So is it like a texture thing when the food gets cold, or is it more of like a taste?
It's a little bit of both. When stuff is cold, you have to take in more liquid. And my mindset is I'd rather eat whatever's going to be most difficult at the time. I'll try to eat that first because I don't want to eat it cold. Cold food is not fun. You have to chew it more. It takes more time to swallow it. And like I said, you might have to take more liquids in just to get through it.
What's the worst cold food you've ever had to take down during a challenge?
Burger patties, steak, just because the chewing is insane.
It sounds like a jaw workout too, especially with like a cold steak.
For sure, yeah. You definitely get some jaw pain, and fortunately, I've never had any failures with the jaw, I guess you could say, during a challenge.
Well, that's good at least. So many unexpected things can happen during food challenges. Can you share an embarrassing or even funny moment that happened to you during a food challenge?
Yeah, I can think of a couple actually. The first one was more It's a little bit of both, embarrassing and funny. So I did this food challenge in Sylvania, Ohio. The place was called Charlie's Homemade Ice Cream. And it was a speed challenge where you had to finish a burger, a side, a shake, and a drink. Well, I finished, or at least I thought I'd finished, stopped my timer, started putting my stuff away, and realized I never finished the drink. So I went, oh no, what do I do? Luckily, the challenge wasn't too large. I actually went up and ordered another one and legitimately beat the challenge a second time. Well, I guess I didn't beat it the first time, but went through and legitimately beat it on the second try and got the time that I wanted. So that was just almost kind of funny. I had fun with the video when I put it out. I wondered if people would think I did it on purpose, but I really didn't. I forgot the drink. I put my stuff away, and my mind would not have been at ease if I just walked away saying, oh, I beat the challenge. I didn't finish the drink. So to me, I had to redo it. That's one story. The other story, more embarrassing and something that haunts me to this day, really. A contest that I did in Lansing, Michigan. It was an olive burger eating contest. And for those not familiar, olive burger is a Michigan staple. You'll have to look it up or try one for yourself sometime. But it was the first to finish 10 olive burgers or the most after 10 minutes, I believe it was, or 8 minutes. I was there. I was probably definitely the favorite. There wasn't any other pros there or anybody with any experience. I was on the 9th burger, and unfortunately, I choked. I drank some water, panicked a little bit, and dislodged the food, but I spit it out. And unfortunately, they called me disqualified for a reversal of fortune. So I tried to plead my case, but they didn't want to change. So I got disqualified from the contest, and that is the only contest or challenge that I've ever been DQ'd from, which is a bummer. I told them I would have ate what came out, which was just a small piece, and finished that last burger. But unfortunately, I was unable to win. And what really hangs over my head on that one is if I would have won that contest, I would have been able to do a showdown with Joey Chestnut a few months later. So just a bit of a bummer, but everything happens for a reason.
Wow. So how did you feel when they made that final decision?
Very, very bummed. It happened 2 years ago, and I'm still not over it. I wish I could have redone it. And honestly, I had no reason to choke. I got really, really, I guess you could say, a little arrogant. I would have won if I would have just slowed down. Let's just say the person behind me was on like number 6. So that individual ended up winning, and he deserved it. He won. So that's all right.
You think you'll ever get the chance to do a showdown with Joey Chestnut in the future?
Probably not, but I did recently, in the last couple of weeks, I did meet him at that same stadium that they conducted that eating contest at. He was doing a meet and greet at the stadium, and I got a ticket to go to that, and I got the chance to meet him for the first time, actually, which was kind of crazy, and talk to him and get a picture with him. It was a good time.
So you've taken on a few challenges with your wife, Melissa. How did the couples challenges come about when you guys did them? And what's your favorite part about having her involved in the channel?
Yeah, I like that question too. And I can remember the very first challenge that we did together was I believe it was 42-ounce steak challenge in Allegan, Michigan. And we, of course, live streamed it. This was before I started doing YouTube videos for challenges, but she was not able to finish it. She loves steak, by the way. And I had talked her into it because I said, you love steak. You could eat it. You could eat this steak. We could do it together. And we thought it'd be, a fun date night without the kids. And we, of course, enjoyed it, even though she didn't complete the challenge. But then we decided there was another steak challenge within our area. She wanted to give another attempt, and she actually went and beat that one. That was over in Jackson, Michigan at Steaks Eatery. And it was great. The funny part about that one was, though, is we did not know at the time that the sides were required too. So she finished the steak, and the server came back over and said, "Oh, you're almost there." And we both looked at each other like, "What?" So she got the steak down, and then it took her a little bit of time, but she did get the sides down to win the challenge and get the shirt, which was great. Moving on to a couple other challenges that we did together, the team ones, which of course I really, really enjoy doing the team ones with her, because not only does it make more of a challenge for me, but it's fun to say, you can do a challenge with your spouse or your friend or whomever. She does triathlons as a hobby, and we had planned a family trip to Ludington, Michigan, for her to do her triathlon. And then I had found a team pizza challenge that no one had beat actually in that area. And we thought it would be a good idea that she goes and does the triathlon, builds up a big appetite, and then we try to beat this challenge together. We got there. We were able to beat it. We had a good time doing it. She actually showed out, in my opinion. Ate way more than I expected, and we won the challenge. And it was just a great time. I did record that one and put it on YouTube. And then we had one other team challenge that we did while we were on our family vacation in Florida. There was a 28-inch pizza that we did together, and again, she did a really good job. And so I can say that we've won 2 team challenges together, and she's won one individual. So she has a 3-1 food challenge record, which in my mind is pretty good. I would like to say that we'll do more, but it's just a matter of finding ones local to the area.
You just answered my next question. I was just about to ask you that, if both of you plan on doing more together. So that's really cool.
Yeah, and again, I can never say never, because initially when she beat the steak one, she's like, "I'm retiring. I'm done it. 1 win and 1 loss." So you can never count it out. And I've won a food challenge with my brother-in-law, my wife. I've actually won one with my daughter, and I have to win one with my son before I stop doing them. So him and I have been talking about, how are we going to handle this?
So this next one I've been waiting to talk to you about for a long time, actually, because this one's pretty intense, and I'm sure you remember it. In November 2021, you uploaded a video that featured the kitchen sink challenge at the Kitchen Restaurant in Orlando, Florida. You had half an hour to take down a massive 7-layer cake, ice cream, burger, and fries. And let's not forget about that pickle. First things first, Nathan, how dense was that cake? Because it looked absolutely towering.
This is so funny, because when you said I've been waiting a long time, I had a feeling this was what it was. It was intense. It was dense. It was basically frozen. It was tough.
You were racing against the clock, and by the end of the battle, you had just seconds to spare. So what was going through your mind as that clock was winding down and you had to actually pour coffee into your ice cream? It had to be crazy.
It was. This was one of those where I had seen so many people attempt this challenge, and I wanted to do it so bad. I mean, call it a bucket list challenge. I wanted to get there. I wanted to try this one. So we had a family vacation down in the area, and I told everybody in the family, I'm like, we have to go here. I have to try this one. When it came out, I was a bit intimidated. When I took my first bite, I was even more intimidated. And as I worked on this, my whole mind was going, how am I going to plan a trip back here to rematch this? Because there's no way I'm going to finish this. I had to use all the tools in my toolbox, all of my strategies, because I didn't want to have to hang this one over my head, to have to come back and figure out how am I going to beat this one if I can't finish. So this cake was just so difficult to chew, difficult to eat. And you mentioned the coffee and the ice cream. I'm glad you noticed that, because with that amount of sugar in that giant cake, I didn't know what was going to happen. So like I said, I had to pull every single trick I could think of out of the book, and that was where I landed. And luckily, I was able to pull it out. That was there's only been a few where I've finished right at the time limit. So that one is definitely a proud win. I'm glad I didn't have to go back. It was unfortunate to find out, actually. I know that Beard Meats Food went there and kind of got shafted with the amount of food. And I had a few friends that went, and even they're better eaters than me, that had difficulties even eating the cake. And I remember talking to them about it. And it's unfortunate because it's an iconic challenge, but it is what it is at this point.
For Beards, was there just more food added?
Yeah, I think he got a large strainer of fries, and then they tried when they brought it out to me, they said the timer had to start immediately, but I kind of negotiated with them and said, hey, it's not very safe to eat this food super hot, which it isn't. So I think they started the timer for him right away. So he lost a few minutes just even setting up his equipment.
So what was your thought when the server actually came back to stop the clock? Because you were still working on it during that time.
Well, yeah, I guess when I saw her, I was like, this might actually happen. This might be a victory. And it might come down to the wire, or it's going to come down to the wire. So
you were happy to get it done, though?
I was. I I've had a few occasions where my mind is telling me, how are you going to get back here and rematch this? Because you're not going to let it go that you lost, and you're going to have to beat it. So what are you going to do differently next time, and how are you going to get here? That's sometimes what my mind is saying when I feel like I'm in over my head.
I believe you recorded your outro like outside the restaurant, and I think you even go, oh, like at the end of it. So I felt for you.
Yeah. I actually can remember exactly where I was standing and exactly how I felt at that time. But yeah, I had to get up right away. I wanted to make sure there was no unfortunate endings inside the restaurant.
Let's talk about your involvement in eating contests and the big recognition you received last year. You've participated in many eating contests over the years featuring a variety of foods, really. Do you approach them differently from your food challenges strategy wise, or do you rely on similar techniques?
Yeah, I'd say a little bit of both, actually. And really with contests, a lot of people think I've done a ton. To put it in perspective, I've only done 20 contests. I'm not really super excited about contests. I've done some local to my area. I've been invited to some of the independent contests with big ears like Dan, Molly, Andy, and others. It's definitely a different atmosphere. And with those, you just have to make sure that you're on your game as far as a capacity standpoint is concerned. But there's still strategy involved. And really with each one, it's kind of the same. How big of a bite can I take and swallow without choking? That's how I approach it. And I tell people contest food is a lot different than challenge food too. Contest food is typically harder to eat. It sits out for a long time while they get stuff set up. And it's just very, very variable. So, people see records at contests and they're like, oh man, they didn't do very good. Well, there's a lot of variables that come into play when it comes to contest food.
How is it eating the food once it's sat out for, like, does it sit out for hours potentially?
I don't think hours, but I've been a part of some where, you take a first few bites and it's like, oh man, this is cold. This is tough. But then there's, certain foods like, I did a pickle eating contest once. That stuff just sits there saturated in liquid. That doesn't change much. But I don't think I've ever seen it sat out for hours. It's more like my experience, contests don't usually start on time. There's a lot of logistics they're trying to get done. It's usually pretty fast paced and they're just trying to get it going.
And what's it like eating in front of a live audience?
Very nerve-wracking for me. So anytime you see me in a contest, I most of the time have music on, headphones to drown out any crowd noise or anything that's happening. I like to focus on just what I'm doing so I can do my best. But I definitely get very nervous in front of a large crowd. I mean, I'm still the type of person, I go into a food challenge in a restaurant. I sit in the corner, I keep to myself. I try not to draw too much attention, as weird as that sounds, but that's just the kind of person that I am. So when I get, I've had the opportunity to share the table with like someone like Randy Santel, who's very outgoing. That's also very nervous for me. And if you watch any of the collabs I do with people, I tend to not talk much, mostly because I'm super nervous and don't want to screw up and just want to make sure I finish the challenge in front of a big audience like that.
Yeah, and it can take time to become comfortable with performing in front of large audiences. Like, I'm a musician, and it took me many, many years to be comfortable to play in front of live audiences and just be comfortable with it overall. So I totally get you there. So in 2024, you became the fourth person ever to achieve a unique food challenge victory in all 50 states. Can you explain what it took to get to that point and how many miles you had to drive for that? Because I'm sure it was a lot of miles.
Yeah. So this was not something that I don't really think I ever thought I would get to, but it's kind of interesting because in 2019, I met Randy Santel for the first time, and he actually had just finished winning a food challenge in all 50 states. And I can recall him talking to some people at this event about that. And I find it interesting that he was the third and I was the fourth. So as I started doing food challenges and kind of just doing them on the weekends in my area, I started to look at, there was a ton of different people out there that were saying, hey, I just got, win number whatever in state number 20. And I was like, man, that's a lot. That's crazy. That's a really cool idea. And as I started to do food challenges more, I learned that there are way more people that are quicker than me, can eat more food than me. And I wanted to kind of leave my mark in a monumental way that, I don't think very many people will be able to do, because it takes a lot of, I think, strategy and planning everything, a lot of dedication and a lot of time. And it's tough to do. So in the first couple of years, I never really set a goal to do that, but I would go either on like sometimes I got sent on like work trips to different states. If there was one nearby, I would try to do it. So I remember getting a win in Nebraska, was like the third or fourth state that I won one in. But that was because I went on a work trip. And then we would go on family vacations, and if there was one in our path or two in our path that I saw, I would be like, oh, I want to try that one. We'll just knock out another state. As the years went on, I was like, this is really fun. I like, traveling and seeing different states. And I had already been to like around 35 states by the time I started Food Challenges through, childhood travel and taking trips as an adult, going different places. And I said to myself, it'd be cool to say I did this and went to all 50 states. So that's in like 2021, I think I started to plan different trips. And I'm the one in our family that plans everything anyway, as far as vacations concerned. And I enjoy doing it. I like the planning aspect. I like understanding, how much time is it going to take to get from point A to point B? What are we going to stop and do in between? What are we going to, what sites are we going to see and stuff like that? So it became easy for me to plan this stuff out. And watching different food challenges and looking at the map on foodchallenges.com, I already had in my mind, okay, these challenges are ones I want to do. So how can I get there at some point? So in like 21 and 22, that's when I did some of those trips. Then I started to get closer to 50 states. And for those that don't know, I'm also a big Detroit Lions fan. In January 2023, I went to an away game in Green Bay and had a really, really great time watching the Lions play. They played a great game. They won the last game of the season with nothing to play for. And it was just a great atmosphere. So the next season, I decided, I want to go to another away game. And I picked Kansas City because it just seemed like a good game to go to as the first game of the season. And the Lions won that game again. And I did some food challenges in the area when I was traveling out there. Then the Lions were good, and I wanted to go to more. And I found out that a couple of the games they were playing in were states that I hadn't gotten to yet. So that season, I ended up getting a couple more trips in and knocking a few more states off the list. And then in 2024, I had only a few states remaining at the early part of the year, and took another trip to watch a Lions playoff game and knocked out the 50 states. And unfortunately, the Lions weren't able to make it to the Super Bowl that year. They lost in the NFC Championship, but that was kind of the plan. So kind of surrounding it with Lions games and aspirations to travel and things of the sort were the motivation. And on February 1st, 2024, I completed the goal, and it was awesome.
What was your 50th state?
It was Hawaii.
Cool. How was that? I've always wanted to go to Hawaii.
To be honest with you, Hawaii, I was only there for like a day and a half, 2 days, and I only went to one of the islands. But it was warm. I had a car, so I got to drive all around the island, take pictures, see different things. But really, in my opinion, my favorite one was Alaska. I can't wait to go back, even though when I went, it was winter. So we're actually planning a family vacation out there, hopefully either next year or the year after, to enjoy it for, a week.
No challenges, right, on that week?
You can never say never. If there was an opportunity or one that looked interesting, I wouldn't say it wouldn't happen, but I'm not going to make it a huge priority on a family vacation.
So what did it mean to you when you got the title? I mean, I imagine it was an unforgettable moment after all the challenges and travels, but what really stood out to you when you finally achieved it?
Yeah, it was. It was very emotional, mainly because it was over. Like, if that makes any sense, like I'd worked for years to try to get to this, and then it happened. And I can't wait to show everybody. I've held on to the YouTube videos for the last 5 states, and I plan to hold on to them for a little bit because I'm going to try to do, I don't know, might try to do something special with them, but I'd like to kind of tell that story in sequential order. But it was a very high moment for me, very prideful. It was, a lifelong thing. I was 37 years old when I did it, and not only, winning a food challenge in all 50 states, but getting to all 50 states. I mean, I went on trips when I was a kid to different states with my grandparents who have since passed, and would have loved to have shared with them that, I was the first family member, to make it to all 50 states. They would have been very proud to see that. They weren't super excited about food challenges. They always they thought they were funny, but they would have enjoyed more just seeing the fact that I accomplished the goal of making it to all 50 states, which is something that my family and I are working on now together. So we're going back, or at least I'm going back since I've already done it, and we're gonna do all 50 states as a family to make sure that I instill that adventure. Because really, to me, it was more than just winning food challenges. It was being adventurous, meeting new people, coming out of your comfort zone to go somewhere you haven't been, or meet some people that you've never talked to before, and learn a little bit about the areas. So for me, I did more than just drive to a restaurant, do a food challenge, drive to the next state, go to sleep, do the next one the next day, that kind of thing. I surrounded it too with, I love movies. And there were a lot of places that I went where they filmed those shows or those movies. So I went to filming sites, took pictures, breathed in the atmosphere of, hey, this is one of my favorite TV shows ever, and I'm actually here where they made it. This is cool. So I did that for numerous places that I went to. Probably my favorite one was in Albuquerque, New Mexico, the TV show called Breaking Bad, that I spent 4 or 5 hours just driving around and seeing where all these things were filmed. And it was just very, very surreal. So to me, again, it was more than just eating. It was being adventurous and learning and taking everything in.
And you also got a lot of press over the years too.
Yeah. So it's kind of funny because to this day, I sometimes will be, searching up food challenges or looking through social media, and I'll look and I'll see an article and I'll go, hey, wait a second, that's about me. There's been so many articles written by, local radio stations or news places, and most of them I'm contacted about and asked questions, but some of them, like I said, I laugh when I see them because I'm like, oh, wow, they wrote an article about me doing this food challenge? I don't remember that. I don't remember being asked about that. And it's just basically, some followers or whatever, just looking for some, local news. And they saw that, Nathan Klein completed this pizza challenge in Kalamazoo, and I'm going to write the article about him, which I think is cool. It doesn't bother me. I've been on the front page of my local paper, both of them, actually. We have 2 different ones in the city. So that's cool. And I save all that stuff. I've got a bin in my basement of literally every article that I've been given or seen, at least, to hold on to. That for me, that's, part of the fun. And again, I don't feel like I'm a famous person, but I can still be recognized in my area. I went into a local hardware store a couple months ago, and a guy was looking at me, and I looked at him. I'm almost like, I know this guy from somewhere. And he goes, "Are you Nathan?" And I'm like, "Yes." And he goes, "I watch your YouTube channel." And I'm like, "Oh, wow." I did not expect to hear that. So I talked to the guy for a little bit. His name was Colin. And he just told me, I asked him what his favorite video was. He told me, and I was like, well, hey, if you ever want to watch one, just let me know. I'll let you know where I'm going, and you can definitely come and be entertained, I guess. But yeah, and then, having young kids that, go into the school and coaching and volunteering and things like that, I always get the kids asking me questions, or, the kids telling me, what challenge was your last one? Or, hey, I watched your YouTube video, which I think's pretty cool. I always tell the kids, don't be like me, but I'm glad people can get some sort of enjoyment out of it.
I bet it'd be surreal to be just recognized, like locally and even nationally.
Yeah, it is. And again, I still feel like I'm a small fish in a big pond, so to speak. There's plenty of other people that have more notoriety or more talented, but yeah, it is, kind of cool to be known as that guy.
Well, and you've definitely put in the work too. I mean, you've been at it for a couple of years. You started, I believe, it was 2019, right?
Yeah, my first food challenge attempt was in 2018, but I didn't really get super serious until 2019.
So moving on to hobbies, YouTube, and future goals. What are some of your favorite hobbies outside of the food world? What do you like to do?
Yeah, so I talked to you earlier about it. I've been into video games since I was 3 years old. So I've got, 35 years of video game experience, and I don't really get too much time to really play anymore, just because of, my job and my kids, and just the time commitment to sit down and dedicate to that. But I still enjoy playing them. I just finished, actually Melissa watched me because she was interested. I replayed the Last of Us 1 and 2, which is one of my favorite games I played many years ago, but she wanted to see that, and then we watched the TV show. big fan of the Resident Evil games. I will always prioritize when a new Resident Evil game comes out to get that on release and play the heck out of it. Grand Theft Auto, those games, I grew up playing those, so really, really enjoy those too. And then the Nintendo games, of course, I'm fortunate that my kids enjoy games too, so we play those together. But that's one hobby. Big movie fan, so I do watch movies and TV shows. I'm currently really, really invested in the newest Dexter revival, Dexter Resurrection. Just watched the newest episode of that this morning, so really enjoying that. But other than that, I do coach my kids' teams. I really, really enjoy doing that, getting the best out of kids and helping them develop me as a coach and helping me be a better coach. So I do baseball and soccer. Those are the sports that I typically coach for. Or any ones that my kids play that they want me to, I will volunteer and try to learn as much as I can. I do enjoy cooking too and making new recipes. I have a grill and a smoker, so we regularly will make food on that and try different recipes and enjoy that. I'm also a big, talked about it already, Detroit Lions fan. I have watched them again for 30 plus years. Wife and I are a season ticket holders, so that's where you'll find us most of the fall is at the games. We enjoy going to them and living and experiencing them live.
Nice, that's really cool. And it sounds like you really keep busy just overall.
Absolutely. Never a dull moment here.
And I'm also pretty passionate about video games myself. I'm pretty big into like Rocket League and Halo. Have you ever played either of those?
Not Rocket League, but I can remember back in the day in high school, Halo was pretty popular, and I can remember going to a friend's house and you'd have that all the network cables running through the house, hooking up multiple Xboxes, playing multiplayer. That was a fun time.
Yeah, the good old LAN parties. I remember doing that growing up, and now I just played online with one of my best friends. So yeah, always a good time. So you're closing in on 10,000 subscribers on YouTube. Do you have a special video or challenge planned to celebrate your upcoming milestone?
No, actually, I haven't put any thought to that really. I know that I'm close to the 10,000, and I'm excited for that really because I'm a army of one when it comes to my social media. I don't put a ton of time into it. I do it all myself. I've been trying to put out one video per week for the last few years, and it's worked. But no, nothing really planned special. No special milestone or any challenge yet for that, but we'll have to see when we get there. Maybe there will be something cool. I don't know though.
Did you ever think you'd get to 10,000?
Absolutely not. So when I started doing the YouTube channel and got to 1,000, I can remember exactly where I was when that happened. I was sitting in my car looking at it, and I was like, wow, and I never envisioned that. And fortunately for me, I've been given a lot of opportunities. I've had the chance to share the table with many popular YouTubers and eaters, and I'm grateful for those opportunities. And I've had a couple challenges that I've done that have helped grow the channel and have went, quote unquote viral, but no, never in a million years thought I'd hit 10,000. I think 10,000 will probably be the last milestone that I hit. I definitely don't think that I'll get to 50 or 100,000, but enjoying it while I can.
That's still really impressive. I know that a lot of times, especially on like your Instagram stories and maybe even Facebook, you post music like along with your stories, and you've actually got me into the band The Midnight.
Yes, I remember us talking about that, and I'm really glad that you got into them because that is actually one of my favorite bands. They're, I always try to explain it to people. Their sound is nostalgic for something that didn't happen to me. That's the only way I can explain. You're feeling nostalgic for something that never happened to you.
It's a great way to put it. And I think you said you've seen them live, actually, right?
I did, yeah. I went and saw them in Royal Oak, Michigan, and actually Cherish Brown and her husband went, and they are just as good live as they are on their music on streaming.
I listen to them all the time now, so thank you, Nathan.
You're welcome. Wasn't Endless Summer? Is that the one that's your favorite?
Yeah, of all time. Yep, I'd say that's my top.
My favorite is Wave. That one has overcome Aerostar as my favorite. So if you get a chance, listen to Wave. That's a good one.
You got it. So looking ahead, do you plan to continue your competitive eating journey, or is there any big goals or challenges that you're considering for the upcoming future?
Yeah, I like this question too. So, on February 1st, 2024, I met the 50 state milestone. And I thought after that, for a while, I took a break and I was just like, I'm not really sure what I want to do. I did, what I wanted to come out and do and successfully completed it. But now my next goal is 200 plus food challenge wins in the state of Michigan. Sitting at 185 right now. I'm slowly but surely, as time allows, getting to some of these last few Michigan challenges I haven't done, and new ones continue to pop up every once in a while. That's my next goal. And to answer your question about continuing my competitive eating journey, so yes, but I don't know when it's gonna end. I enjoy doing these; it's fun. But the next goal is 200 plus Michigan Food Challenge wins, and I know competitive eating is self-reported, and there's not really a lot of data on it. But I would love to know. In my research, I don't think anyone has gotten that many wins in a single state. So, again, not being the fastest or the best, I've made it to all 50 states, and if I could, maybe have that record to my name, that would be cool.
Is it hard to find them after you've taken so many on?
Yeah, it is, and I rely on people telling me or me just searching for them, but they do pop up, and I talked to a few friends about the ones that I've done and found, and they're just so jealous. They're like, "What is the deal with Michigan? Why is there so many?" And I'm like, "I don't know." I wish there was more than just burger challenges though, because after a while you get sick of doing those. Can we get some pizza ones or calzones or unique ones? I would love that.
What's the most unique food you've ever seen in challenge?
I'm always on the search for unique ones and trying to get to them. There's not a lot of pasta ones that I've seen. I did a pasta one out in Maryland. That one was kind of unique. Not that it's necessarily a unique food, but kind of rare to find. Cookie challenges are kind of hard to find. I've done a couple of those. I did a cinnamon roll one. That one was pretty cool. That kind of unique. I've done a cereal one. That one's not very common.
Well, I'm glad you brought up the cereal one because I actually want to talk to you about that one bowl. I think it previously defeated you, but you came back and you did dominate it. But it was a battle.
It was, and I'm glad you mentioned that one too, because I've had a few people that have told me like, that's how I found you, and man, that was epic. And I'm like, yeah, it truly was. That by far, even to this date, is the hardest challenge that I've ever done. I'm glad I went back and got redemption on it. It did haunt me for, I think it was a couple months after I lost that I went back and reattempted it. And with my nervousness and anxiety, when I walked in the door, the guy remembered me, and of course I panicked, like, oh my gosh, I'm going to get more food or something like that. So I couldn't win, but needless to say, it was fair. I beat it barely. And that was actually the one that got me on the front page of my local newspaper. And, being from Cereal City, Michigan, I think it was fitting.
So for those that don't know, you have to actually roll like to see what cereals you even get for the challenge, right?
That's correct. So the very first time I went in there, I rolled grape nuts twice, which I'm not saying that's the reason that I lost the first time. I looked back on my video and watched what I did wrong, and there were a number of things, but that didn't help. But the second time I went in, the owner reassured me that, hey, just so you know, grape nuts is not on the wheel anymore. So I was put at ease at that point, and I don't really remember what exactly I rolled both times. I think I mentioned it in my video, but I do recall the second time I went, I did roll twice. I got to pick, which almost came back to bite me. If you ever do a cereal challenge and you have to do that, do not do Fruity Pebbles or Cocoa Pebbles. Pick the larger, more dense, pick the larger cereals that fill less volume and won't get as soggy, like Frosted Mini Wheats or Chex. That's what I should have done. I probably could have beat it a lot quicker.
Does the difficulty increase once it's really soggy, or does that help?
Hey, I don't know. I just think the sheer volume and really for me, the only way I could have gotten all that down is to basically take it in as liquid rather than chew the cereal. So I ended up taking in the whole gallon of almond milk, which is what I chose, and then the however many pounds of cereal that it was in that large bowl.
So lastly, before we wrap it up, is there anything you'd like to say to anyone listening to this or following your journey?
Yeah, I appreciate everyone following along, enjoying it. I like reading the comments every week. I have regulars that comment and say they enjoy the videos and they share them with their families, and it brightens up their day. That makes me happy that people enjoy them. All the local people that I see when I go around to my kids' schools or around the area, friends and family, neighbors that, comment on, hey, I saw you do this challenge. That was really cool. Always appreciate that. If I can be a bright spot in someone's life and make them happy for 10 to 15 minutes a week, that makes me feel better. I'm grateful for all the people that I've gotten to share the table with, the long list of people that I never in a million years thought I would ever get a chance to meet or even sit down and share a challenge with. Thanks to them, every single person, and thanks to you guys. I can remember when you first reached out, asking about putting me on the website and everything, and it's great. It's nice to know that people enjoy it. I appreciate that.
We love supporting the community and just seeing all the challenges and eating contests, reporting on them, and we definitely love it and appreciate everyone listening. And thanks again, Nate, for coming on the podcast.
Yeah, no problem. I appreciate you guys having me.
Thanks for listening, everyone, and we'll see you in the next episode.